Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome in to Game Over Toronto after a big win. It's been a little too few and far between these big wins, but the Leafs triumphant 4-0 over the Boston Bruins. The first time that the Toronto Maple Leafs have shut out the Boston Bruins since December 19th. 2009. It has been a while. How are we doing today, everyone? I see Luke is already in the chat saying that he can enjoy hockey again. And yeah, me too. This is the ebbs and flows of being a Leafs fan where, you know, they lose a game, you hate the world, everything sucks and the world's going to end. They win and all of a sudden we can be happy again. We can live peacefully again. Yeah, definitely a big win for the Leafs because, and it's not because of the win, you know, obviously getting a win is good. Getting a win over a division rival is good, especially your biggest rival in the Boston Bruins, and a shutout victory at that. But it's the way they won. It's how they won. And it really comes down. This was a special teams victory. They had an empty net goal and 3 power play goals, which we will be sure to talk about. And they also had a perfect day on the penalty kill. Anthony Stolarz, his first shutout as a Leaf. There was just a lot of good things in this game, honestly. So that's why we're here. We're going to talk about everything, break it all down. Before we get into that, though, make sure you like the stream. Subscribe to Game Over Toronto if you're here, because, you know, we're a growing startup here, and any support would be very appreciated. So we're going to start this off. Obviously, we have got to talk about the power play. That has been the main story. Like, if you go throughout our Game Over Toronto streams throughout the season, we have talked about the power play the most. It has been the talking point in Toronto dating back to last February because they've been awful. They've been awful. But today, they nearly doubled their production. They had so the Steven Lorentz empty net goal. Before that, it was 4 straight power play goals for the Leafs, which is not a sentence that I think anyone would have wanted or expected to say really at all based on how they've played this season. But we're going to do something new for this stream and streams going forward because the power play has been such a focal point. What I'm going to do is anytime I'm on a stream and the Leafs score a power play goal, we're going to put the good vibe glasses on because really the vibes were fantastic. Anytime the Leafs score on the power play, the vibes are going to be good. So the glasses are going on. This is going to be our look for the stream today. If anyone has any thoughts on the power play, I would love to hear them in the chat. The way we're going to do this is throughout the stream, because I'm by myself. Any questions you have, I'll be sure to answer them throughout. And, you know, as I'm going through the segment specifically, be sure to leave some comments as well. We're going to start with the power play. So if you guys have any thoughts on the power play, this is the time. This is the time to talk about it. We're going to start off first and foremost. This is a weird stat because Auston Matthews was not in this game, obviously dealing with an upper body injury, and day to day might keep him out through the weekend. We'll wait and see on that front. But the Leafs power play without Auston Matthews is shockingly over 30%. How? There is an explanation, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But it is hilarious that you take the Leafs' best player, the best goal scorer in the league, off of the power play, out of the lineup, and the power play gets better. And it really comes down to something that Craig Berube has been talking about this season when talking about the power play struggles, is that the Leafs are not direct enough with the man advantage. They for whatever reason, I know that Dom and Lauren have alluded to maybe looking for the perfect play instead of the simple play. I think it's more of a case of the Leafs want to take what the defense gives them, and when the defense doesn't give them anything, they don't really know what to do. They don't really penetrate the middle that often. They really want to just go to the open areas and then reevaluate. In this game, no Auston Matthews, and what did they do? They shot the puck. Crazy idea. I know it's absolutely revolutionary. But the Leafs tried this new thing of just shooting the puck towards the net, and lo and behold, it worked. So the first power play goal, Matthew Nyes digs behind the net, gives it to Marner. He does his little spinorama cycle up top. Morgan Rielly gets the puck. Matthew Nyes parks himself in front of the net. And what does Morgan Rielly do? He shoots it. Wow. I know I get annoyed by Morgan Rielly shooting into shin pads, but sometimes you gotta shoot just to keep the defense honest. And lo and behold, there's a screen in front. The puck goes in. Hallelujah. Mind grenade explosion. The puck went in because you just shot the puck at the net with traffic in front. Was that so hard? Was that so hard? Genuinely. And, that goal goes in. Okay, cool. We got another power play goal. Hey, that's back-to-back games with a power play goal. Good vibes. A minute or two later, another Boston penalty, and the Leafs are back on the power play. William Nylander gets it. And this was a little bit more of a good bounce. But Nylander just throws it towards the net. I think he was trying to cross it to, was it Nyes in front or Tavares? One of them. And he just puts the puck towards the net, trying to make a play, and it bounces in. Hallelujah. Lo and behold, you throw the puck towards the net, good things happen. Now, that was definitely a case of, the Leafs just got to bounce on that one. Those aren't going to happen every time, but hey, we take them when we get them, especially on the power play, because the Leafs have been, it's snake bitten to an extent, but, they've been so bad that just getting a couple of these where you just put the puck on net, and then all of a sudden you start to feel better about yourself, and we can actually score on the power play. Who knew? Who would have thought? And the third one at the end of the game is, again, Matthew Nyes goes to the front of the net. He has been a beast in front of the net this year. Goes to the net. Nylander throws it on, deflected in. This is exactly what Craig Berube was talking about. Every time that he's been asked about the power play, he has said the same simple line. Get pucks and bodies to the net. Be more direct. Shoot it. The Leafs did that in this game. They went to the net. They went to the dirty areas. Matthew Nyes especially. Beast in front of the net. And it works. So, again, more people rolling in here. If anyone has any thoughts or comments on the power play, that's what we're talking about right now. Just comments and questions throughout the stream. Make sure you like and subscribe as well. The power play is obviously the big story in this game. And it really is the difference between the Leafs with Auston Matthews and without Auston Matthews. They obviously play a lot simpler hockey without Auston Matthews. And, you can debate why that is. Especially when it comes to the power play, though, it really just comes down to, oh no, our best goal scorer is not here. Someone else has to shoot the puck. What are we going to do? Shoot the puck. That's literally it. And whether it's Morgan Rielly, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Tavares had a couple good chances on the power play. Mitch Marner was flying all night as well. He had a great game. Mike Johnson on the broadcast was saying it's his best game of the season. Don't know if I would quite go that far, but it certainly was one of his better games. Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, honestly. The fact of the matter is, without Auston Matthews, the Leafs are forced to simplify their game. It's one thing when Craig Berube tells them to simplify their game. It's another thing when they're forced to. We saw this in the playoffs against Boston, and which, by the way, this game, shockingly similar to some of the playoff games in the low event nature of it. In just that there wasn't a lot happening, and then, one or two goals kind of decides that obviously the Leafs win 4-0, but it was 2-0 for most of the third period until a late power play, and they were able to capitalize. It just, as that first period especially, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that first period, you could have told me that was the first period of game 4 or game 6, whatever, and I would have believed you, because both teams just had nothing going for them. Nothing. It was a very defensive battle. Boston is struggling, and Minnesota has the 30th ranked PK. Okay, so I get what you're alluding to, Luke, that it's just a case of opponents. And it's possible. It's certainly possible. Boston is now 6-7-1 on the year. So, below 500. And below Bettman 500 too. The Leafs coming into this game, I think the Leafs are 7... is 7-7 overall when you count the overtime losses as just straight losses. So Leafs are actual 500. They're above Bettman 500, but their opponents have been bad on the penalty kill. Yeah, that's a fair argument, and we'll just have to see. They got Detroit on Friday and then Montreal on Saturday. Those are teams that are hardly world beaters, and you would like to see them get another power play goal or two in there. But I mean, end of the day, you can only play the team that's in front of you. So, for what it's worth, if we want to play the game, okay. The Leafs just caught, like, Minnesota's a bad penalty kill. They caught Boston while Boston's playing bad, although Boston was coming off back-to-back shutouts, so that should be mentioned. But Boston hasn't been great this year. Minnesota's penalty kill sucks. Okay. You still have to score. And my counterpoint to that is the Leafs power play was ranked 31st coming into this game, so it was a clash of bad on bad, right? This is not the case of a good power play beating up on bad teams. This is a bad power play trying to find its footing, right? So, like, we can play that game, and obviously it is true to an extent. The Leafs have to be able to score against good penalty kills as well. That has been what costs them in the past. But again, you can only play who's in front of you, and for what it's worth, the Leafs power play is also bad. So you have to keep that in mind. Goalies, we have good goalies for once in 20 plus years since the Ed Belford and the veterans carrying the team, Patches and Tanev. Yeah. The thing with the goalies is, like, obviously the Leafs, when Freddie Anderson was here, he had some really good regular seasons, right? And Samsonov even had some good regular seasons. Like, the Leafs have had, like, pretty good goaltending in the past. Anthony Stolarz is playing absolutely fantastic right now, though. Like, if this is who Anthony Stolarz is, and there's really no indication to say that it isn't, he's been a great backup in the league for years, and he's been unreal. Lights out this season, gets his first shutout. There's no reason to believe, as of now, that Stolarz can't keep this up. The only question mark is, does he have the longevity to do it? We'll find out, but that is certainly a big factor. I didn't like or agree with the vets coming in, but I like them. Yeah, you know what, Trevor, and I'm of the same mind. I liked the Tanev signing. I did not like the term. I still don't like the term. Pacioretty, I was very against that signing. Very against it. OEL, I was very against that signing as well. I was a big fan of Matt Roy before Washington snagged him. I'll stay here. I was wrong. Max Pacioretty has been a very welcome addition because he's not the player I expected them to get. I was expecting Max Pacioretty to be a depth winger that can score occasionally and not bring a whole lot else. I was not anticipating the physical nature of what Max Pacioretty could bring to this team. And him kind of changing who he is has been such a welcome addition. And now, like, he's playing on the second line. I don't know if that'll stick. I don't really want Pacioretty playing 82 games. But if you can get 50 games out of Pacioretty in the regular season and then get this version of Pacioretty in the playoffs, you're laughing. It'd be amazing. OEL as well. Again, don't like the term. Like, I don't like the actual contract. But for what it's worth, OEL has been very solid. He had a great sequence in the second period of this game where he barely misses John Tavares' backdoor. And then Morgan Rielly does a stupid thing, turns it over, and was it John Beecher? Gets a breakaway, and OEL just, boom, beelines it back and breaks up the breakaway without committing a penalty. It was a phenomenal defensive play, makes up for Morgan Rielly's mistake. It was like he went to the TJ Brody school of just be Morgan Rielly's safety net, right? Great play. And you know what? I was concerned when Tanev came off that pairing as well, that Rielly wouldn't be able to hang with OEL as well. That pairing's been fine, and it's allowed a great shutdown pair to take over. Luke, it's not so much that they are bad. I just think the team and Berube need to sync up. If they get success against bad teams, hopefully it helps them buy in and they can get success against good teams. Yeah, like, honestly, the thing with the Leafs is there's been a lot of attention given to two things. One is that coming into tonight, they had the same record through 13 games as they did last year. And the other is that while they have the same record, they have better underlying numbers. For what it's worth, the team defense is noticeably better, right? Defense has been noticeably better. Offense, it's kind of hit or miss. There are some games where they look amazing. There are some games where they look completely dead. And that's just kind of the nature of things. This game in particular, they didn't generate a whole ton 5-on-5. That's not crazy to say. It was not a very lively game at 5-on-5. It was a very tight checking game. These are the kind of games that the Leafs have struggled with, right? They couldn't generate they can't generate 5-on-5. Their team, the opposing team, is clogging the middle of the ice. How can the Leafs score? In this case, the power play. This has been the answer. When teams are tightly checking the Leafs, the answer needs to be the power play. Tonight it was, and it works out great. So, like you said, Luke, we'll see if they can sync up and string together some good performances against better teams. The Leafs have, or actually, honestly, maybe beating bad teams is also just the answer because the Leafs have struggled with that. But yeah, this win is on the back of the power play. And that's the first time this season that we've been able to say that. Right? Like, how many games have the Leafs lost this season because of their power play? At least 2, maybe 3 out of, directly lost because of their power play. At least 2 or 3 games that they lost that could have turned out different if they get a power play goal or 2. That's also up there, right? Like, there are games where they literally just were begging for one power play goal to win the game and they couldn't get it. And there have been games where they could have got back into it if they got a power play goal, right? So they've lost games because of their power play. Tonight, they win one directly because of their power play. Also because of the penalty kill. We'll talk about the penalty kill in a bit here. But yeah, power play. Now, I will say the top unit obviously did the heavy lifting. Second unit was pretty invisible. Although, there's another... This is going to be turned into an apology from me, this stream. Max Domi, a player I have been very vocal about my disdain for Max Domi. Not as a person, he seems like a fine person, but on the ice, I have a lot of gripes with Max Domi's game. One thing I was not expecting, Max Domi breaking ankles left and right. I don't know what was happening. There was a power play in the second period where Max Domi just decided, I'm the toe drag king now. And there were he's putting guys on skates. I think he did this in the last game against Boston as well, where Max Domi's just breaking ankles. Where did this come from? He was ripping it too. My biggest problem with Domi is he doesn't shoot, which is a lot of people's biggest problem with Max Domi. He shot the puck tonight. He was going for it. There, like that second toe drag, it was like beautiful. He sets up the shot, toe drags inside, and then lets it rip. Just missed the net. But if that goes in, highlight of the night. Highlight of the night, no question. Max Domi absolutely had a great game tonight. And for as vocal as I will be when Max Domi has bad games, because, you know, that's just kind of who I am, I will also recognize, hey, he had a good game tonight. He had a very good game tonight. Berube looks mean, and all the players are probably scared of him, LOL. They have to play the way he wants, or they'll find out. McMahon sure standing out. So that's the thing with Berube, right? Is, okay, this is a whole different tangent, and maybe I should save this. But the whole reason Berube is here is to kind of give the Leafs a swift kick in the ass. Now, the issue with that is in hockey, the quote-unquote motivational coaches aren't really motivating guys. They're more so just yelling at them. Like, we saw that with Babcock over the years. We've seen that with plenty of guys. But, like, with the Leafs specifically, we've seen that with Babcock. And, you know, in Florida, Paul Maurice does that all the time. Like, those kind of coaches. So I'm a big NFL fan as well. And so whenever I see the NHL brand of motivational coach, I always have now, like over the last 3 years, compare it to the Detroit Lions and what they have been able to do with Dan Campbell, because he is the exact kind of coach the Leafs need, which is someone that just inspires you. The Leafs don't need anyone to yell at them, right? Like, I don't need Craig Berube to come like just yell at everyone and tell them how bad they are. I need someone who's going to inspire these players. That's what the Leafs need. And so whether or not Berube giving them a kick in the ass, we'll see, to be determined. I don't know how inspirational he is. And that's what the Leafs need. That's what the Leafs really need. But that's a conversation for a different day because they won tonight. So we don't need to talk about Berube that much. Berube, his team did good. Mark Savard, good job. Your power play did something. We'll see if you can get it to repeat. So with that being said, we're going to turn over to our second segment at this point in just a moment. Sorry. Here we go. As I do, you're going to see a ad for our merch come up on the screen. Our Game Over Toronto merch. There's also merch for the other markets as well, but it's on our website. You could scan the QR code or go to thegameovernetwork.com. If you're interested, you'll see it's just on the slideshow next to me here. And if anything stands out to you, make sure you go give it a look. Any support would be greatly appreciated. Again, make sure to like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto as well. So this second segment here, we're gonna talk about the penalty kill now. So again, same thing. If anyone has any thoughts or comments on the penalty kill or Anthony Stolarz, this is also going to be a Stolarz segment because he was fantastic. He's the main reason they went 6 for 6 on the penalty kill tonight. Now, the PK, it's weird, right? Because there's been games this year where the PK has been unreal. There's been games where the PK has been sloppy. And then there's been games where they're just kind of all right. This was obviously one of the better games they had. The Bruins had a few chances, and that's gonna happen. Again, it's a 5-on-4. Most penalty kills click at what? 80%? Is that average? 80% roughly? And if a penalty kill's clicking at 80%, guess what? That means 1 out of every 5 penalty kills, you're going to give up a goal. And naturally, that also means you're going to give up chances throughout those penalty kills as well. But the big thing to note is the Leafs did not give up really too many grade A opportunities. I think the Bruins had a couple of chances from the lower slot there. The coil slot shot off the feed from below the goal line. Those happen. But Stolarz was up to the task, mainly because Coyle was unable to lift the puck, really. Pasternak had a one-timer early in the game that went off Stolar's neck, which, by the way, shout out to Stolarz for eating that shot off the neck. You know, bit of a stinger. It happens. Goalies are going to get hit. But he fought through it. He stayed in the game. And then he gets the shutout, right? Like, he battled through that, and the Bruins really, especially early, tried to get pucks and bodies to the net. I think, you guys will recall from the start of this game, how many of the Bruins' shot attempts in the first 10 minutes of this game were point shots. I've talked about the Leafs, we'll call it decision not to cover the point as tightly. We have a short clip from the Blues stream from Saturday up on the channel as well. You can go check that out. It's about 4 minutes, where we just talk about the defensive zone coverage. The Leafs make a conscious choice to leave the points a little bit more open. And, as a result, the Bruins in particular are a team that they like to hammer it from the point. Old school style team, get pucks and bodies to the net, right? And, the Stolarz was up to the task. He was fighting through that, and on the penalty kill, it didn't matter if it was a point. There was a couple of good shots from McAvoy from the point, but Pasternak didn't really do much in this game. Marchand had a great one-timer that Stolarz turned away. He was battling in there, man. He was great. My buddy Sam once again showing up in the chat to spread some Matt Murray propaganda. Sam, you can drop the charade for a second because I know that you do appreciate a good Stolarz shutout. But yeah, now aside from Stolarz obviously holding down the fort on the penalty kill, the coverage was very good. The broadcast on TSN made a point to highlight the fact that the Leafs were shading towards Pasternak's side. That's why Coyle was getting his chances in the low slot. And So I do agree with that because Pasternak's one-timer is the biggest threat the Bruins power play has. And you got beat by that the last time you were in Boston, or last game against the Bruins when you were in Boston. Pasternak gets a power play goal on a one-timer. So, naturally, you shade towards Pasternak, especially after that big one-timer that injures Stolarz. And to their credit, it worked, right? And this is the growth of the penalty kill that we're seeing, where they're a lot more disciplined in their assignments. And we saw the case a couple of weeks ago against the Blues where all four guys crowded to the corner, and then they made the correction where it's like, okay, three guys can crowd to the corner, but one guy has to stay in front. It's just a evolution. The penalty kill is getting a lot better at just staying composed and staying disciplined, which is ironic because the Leafs have not been a disciplined team, but the penalty kill has been staying disciplined, and that is a factor. That is a big factor because the quality of chances against, in this game in particular, were not high, right? Now, I missed the Minnesota game, so I don't know how those were. Against the Blues on Saturday, it's the same thing. The quality of chances weren't that great on the power play, like the Blues power play, Leafs penalty kill. Parayko got a blast in that game. But you're willing to give up point shots. You're willing to give up the Charlie McAvoy shot from the point because it's not as threatening. Again, historically, point shots go in about 2% of the time. So that's a shot you're willing to give up as long as you make it a clean look, right? Because you add traffic and deflections and rebounds and all that. That's when those shots get a little dicey. But if it's just a clean look, you're willing to give up a point shot. And that's what teams have been doing against the Leafs for years. As for the Leafs being shorthanded 6 times in this game, that is something that it's a concern. It is a concern. The Leafs coming into this game, they were averaging 4.51 penalties taken per game. And they take 6 more in this game. So the Leafs are going to be, around that 4.6 mark, roughly. Maybe 4.7. It's still early, so maybe 4.7, but probably 4.6. And that means the Leafs will be within the top 5 of penalties taken per game. Now, Boston is number 1, and they took 7, which, man, the Bruins are undisciplined. We can laugh about that. It's the regular season, so they actually get called for stuff, and it's great. It's great because 7 power play opportunities, I'll take those all day. But the Leafs take 6 of their own, and this has been a growing theme that the Leafs have been undisciplined this year. And you see with like it's just the stick infractions, the roughings, all that. Tanev had one where he buried Pasternak into the boards. Weird one where he should not have got a roughing too with the Marchand tackle, but it is what it is. But the Leafs, so this is the problem, right? We talk about in the NHL, this has been a theme of hockey for years and years, where when at the end of the year, you'll look, okay, who took the most penalties? Let's say it's Boston, right? Then the most penalties also drawn will probably also be Boston because the NHL, in their effort to keep things fair and balanced, they usually call roughly an equal amount of penalties on both teams every game. So in this game, Boston takes 7 penalties, the Leafs take 6. That's within a normal parameter, right? If the Bruins had taken 7 and the Leafs had taken 2, for example, and there was a 5 penalty discrepancy, that would be like truly shocking. That never happens. But there is a little bit so naturally, you will end up with about as many power play opportunities as penalty kills in a season. To start this year, though, the Leafs have kind of broken that curve. You could talk about Toronto, the anti-Toronto bias if you want. I won't, because I think it is just the Leafs being undisciplined and stupid. But currently, after this game, their Leafs penalty differential will be -9, meaning they will have 9. They've taken 9 more penalties than they have drawn. The Sharks are last in the league with minus 14. And again, most teams are within 5 of being even. The Leafs have been an undisciplined team this year. There's no way around it. Now, we could talk about why that is, whether it's Berube instilling more of a tougher philosophy. But I've noticed a lot more stick infractions this year. There was the one where Pasternak had a lane to the net and like 4 guys slashed him. Like, that's just undisciplined. It's undisciplined. So that is something that has to improve. In general, again, as the season goes on, you'll see that number tread closer to 0. But the discrepancy in penalties taken versus power plays drawn is largely due to the Leafs being an undisciplined team this year. And again, how many, like, this game would have been so much like less stressful in the middle part of the game if, not that it was stressful, but if the Leafs just stopped taking penalties. They kept giving the Bruins opportunities. They killed them off, again, in large part thanks to Stolarz, but it is something to note, and it is a concern long term. Trevor said Stolarz is good in the scramble and positional saves. So I was talking about this with Alec Brownscombe, who runs Maple Leaf Hot Stove. And I was talking to him about how Stolarz, I don't know if this is a me thing. You guys can chime in if you agree or not. But Stolarz, because he's so physically massive, he looks kind of awkward in the crease at times in his movements. Like, he's been great at being in position and making the saves. So I'm not complaining, but he just looks really awkward to me in his movements, especially some of the low shots where his pads will be completely flat to the ice and he's just like wobbling his upper body to either side. It just looks really funny to me. But he's been great. Stolarz has been great, and that's the reason the penalty kill was 6 for 6 tonight and has largely been solid this season. It's been a concern in the past. This year, it's really not. Like, I think the Leafs will have an average penalty kill this year. I don't know. Y'all can tell me if you agree or disagree, but I'm pretty confident saying the Leafs will be in the 8 to 14 range end of the year in penalty kill. Power play, we'll see. But yeah, special teams certainly have been a concern. So it's nice that you win a game because of special teams, but we'll have to see. Now, again, keep bringing your questions in the chat. Love to see them. I am going to switch us over to our third period here for the show. But before I do, I have got to, there we go. I have got to tell you guys about Hyperdrive Hockey, which is the Game Over Network. It's our flagship show. You can find it over on the Game Over Network, the main YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts as well. It's all things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries, whatever it is and wherever it is. Max, Daphne, and Kev have got you covered for all your hockey news and a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. So go check it out. It's a great show multiple times a week. If you are a hockey fan, if you enjoy general league-wide coverage, go check out Hyperdrive Hockey. Subscribe to the Game Over Network. Again, like and subscribe to Game Over Toronto because, again, we're a startup. We're trying to establish our audience here. And I appreciate everyone that's always in the chat. Guys like Luke who are here for most streams. Love to see the engagement. Love to see you guys coming back, game after game to be with us. Now, this third segment, I'll be honest, I didn't specifically plan out anything, but I do want to talk about Mitch Marner because obviously Auston Matthews being out puts a spotlight on Mitch Marner because he's playing with Max Domi, which again, Max Domi had a good game. He is not Auston Matthews, and that is okay. But as a result, Mitch Marner has to put a lot more on his shoulders. And when that happens, shockingly, in the regular season, but shockingly, that goes pretty well. And I'm gonna bring up this point, the point of this later, but Marner looks so much better when he is the guy on his line. And if you want this is a bad comparison because, the Leafs guys are not as good as these other players. But in Edmonton, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. How often do they play together? Well, not as often as they used to, right? Because Leon Draisaitl driving his own line works. Obviously, he's going to score more with Connor McDavid, but it helps the Oilers more when he's not. In Toronto, maybe we should talk about Mitch Marner driving his own line instead of playing with Auston Matthews, because lo and behold, he looks really good driving his own line. He actually looks better driving his own line than when he plays with Auston Matthews. Could you imagine a world? We had this for Game 7 and it almost worked, but Auston Matthews, top line. Mitch Marner driving the second line. William Nylander driving the third line. Like, come on. The answer is so painfully obvious. We talk about the Leafs' lack of depth. We talk about the lack of depth scoring. How about you spread the wealth? You have these superstars, put one on each line. They don't need each other to score. We proved that with Auston Matthews nearly hitting 70 with Max Domi being on his wing, which, you know, Domi is a bit of a Matthews merchant, but so what you're saying is we run the core 4 lines. Well, I mean, if you're implying that we have a core 4 member on all 4 lines, maybe not that extreme, because Tavares definitely will need the support. But okay, here's my pitch. Here's my elevator pitch. Top line: Matthew Knies, Auston Matthews, Max Domi. Okay, we know Domi and Matthews work together. We've seen that Knies and Matthews work together. Sorry, I accidentally just flipped you guys all off. Did not mean to do that. My bad. Matthew Knies has shown an evolution in his game. Matthews, obviously, is Auston Matthews. Domi works with Matthews. He's a great playmaker. That'll work. Second line. For now, Max Pacioretty. We'll see. I mean, maybe Bobby McMahon. I don't know. Blank second line left winger. John Tavares, Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner, we know, drives play at at an elite rate. We know John Tavares is great when he doesn't have the puck on his stick. He's great at going to the net and presenting himself as an option for Mitch Marner. We've seen the chemistry they've had in the past. That works. Third line. Blank left winger. Again, Bobby McMahon, Max Pacioretty, whatever. Blank third line center. To be acquired at the trade deadline. For now, Pontus Holmberg and William Nylander. William Nylander, again, same as Mitch Marner. He can drive play, and he is great with the puck on his stick. He can drive that third line after icings and penalty kills. He can be elevated to play with Matthews. Like, I know Matthews and Matthew Knies both are on the penalty kill, so they might not always be available, but that would be an option. Fourth line, who cares? Lorentz, Kampf, Doer, I guess. When Yarncroke comes back, maybe Yarncroke slots in on the third line, so it'd be Yarncroke, Holmberg, Nylander for now. I'm just saying. I don't know. Y'all can tell me if I'm cooking. If you like that idea of spreading it out. All things considered, the team's offense is down. Is this one of Mitch Marner's best starts to the season? Oh. I'll think about this one. I'm gonna say no. For one simple reason. Excuse me. Mitch Marner, elite player, very elite player. One of the best players in the entire league, believe it or not. We forget that because, you know, he's been the subject of a lot of hate this season. But Mitch Marner is an elite hockey player. The reason I will say this is not one of his best starts is because normal Mitch Marner in the regular season scores at about a 30 to 35 goal pace. He has 2 goals in 14 games. That's not good enough. So while Mitch, and I've talked about this before, the difference between good Mitch Marner and elite Mitch Marner is good Mitch Marner does a good job of attacking open space. Elite Mitch Marner creates open space with his dynamic edge work, with just dangling guys and doing fancy stick handling, all that. Mitch Marner at his best creates the open ice that he needs for both himself and for his teammates. That's how Auston Matthews has thrived alongside him for years. Just getting lost, the whole Steph Curry sort of comparison where Matthews doesn't need the puck on his stick to make plays and get open. Mitch Marner, though, He needs to shoot more. He needs to. It's the Max Domi conundrum. Shoot the puck more. We know Mitch can score. That's what sucks. The goal against the Blues on Saturday, I was so happy when that happened because he went to the net. He went to the dangerous areas. He just said, "Screw it. The puck's at the point. I'm going to the net. I'll get the rebound." More of that, please. So that's the only reason I'll say Marner hasn't been at one of his best starts. He's going to be on pace for in and around 100 points again. We know that. Selke level defense. He just needs to shoot. Turn Holmberg, Kampf, Marner into the death line. No. If David Kampf ever plays above the fourth line this season, I am going to riot. I loved the Engvall, Kampf, Mikheyev line for what it was, which was the ultimate nothing line. Make the fourth line like that. If you have Lorentz, Kampf, Dewar, that could be a nothing line. Do that. But yeah, Mitch Marner, when he's not with Auston Matthews, I think he's a more complete player because he has to drive offense a lot more by himself. It's less about, and the whole Leafs team is guilty of this throughout the years, but Marner in particular, Domi in particular as well, where when Auston Matthews is on the ice with them, it's, where's Auston? We got to get Auston a goal. The hunt for 70 goals, where's Auston Matthews? When he's not there, Mitch Marner just plays. And when Mitch Marner is just playing and not thinking about that, he is an incredible player. So more of that. Keep him away from Matthews, please. Keep him away. So yeah. If anyone has any other thought, having a stroke. Excuse me. If anyone has any other thoughts on Mitch Marner, feel free to leave them in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to turn us over to our fourth and final segment, our overtime segment. And this is where we, the Game Over crew, we invite questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. If not, I don't know. What we'll preview the weekend's games in the meantime. So Detroit and Montreal. I think it's the Hall of Fame game on Friday, the one against Detroit, and then Montreal on Saturday. These are two games that you should win. The Leafs have been hovering around this mid kind of 500, Bettman 500 record all year. And it's time to start stringing together some wins and really starting to build up points in the standings because the entire Atlantic has been very mediocre this year, very mid. And you can get a bit of a buffer on Boston. You can, surpass Tampa Bay and start to build a buffer on them. You can start to catch up to Florida because Florida's been the only team in the Atlantic that's playing good. I think they're 9-3-1. Good for them. But you need to start catching up to them. You need to start banking points because you need home ice advantage in round one. You should have. There is no excuse to not have home ice advantage in round one this year. Early returns are you're probably going to be playing Tampa round one, and I love how casually I can say you're probably going to be playing your round one opponent. It is the first week of November. That's how predictable the Atlantic has been for the last 8 years. Like obviously minus the one COVID year where the divisions were mixed up, but the Atlantic has always, you can always tell where most people in the Atlantic are going to finish by American Thanksgiving. It's November 5th right now. And the Leafs are probably going to play either Tampa or Boston unless they miraculously win the division. But I would venture to guess the Leafs are going to host the Tampa Bay Lightning in round one again. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously we have a lot of regular season left. Things can change, but based on both recent and a bit broader history of this division, I would say that's pretty much where we're going to end up. Are the Leafs power play merchants now? For one game they are. Boy, it's fun to be power play merchants, huh? It's so much more fun on this side. Like the grass is actually greener over here being power play merchants. Should we talk about how the 5-on-5 offense is a concern now that this has happened? Does Boston make the playoffs? Yeah, they should. There's really no reason Boston shouldn't. Swayman has not been at his best because he missed training camp and the preseason and all that with his contract negotiation. Swayman is not going to be a Vezina candidate this year just because he's going to have a slow start. But Boston should be fine. Oh, Luke, I love you. Thank you for always being here, man. You're such a joy. It's always such a pleasure to look down and see Luke's comments in the chat. I'll give everyone else a second here. Holmberg, Kampf, Marner with McCabe and Tanev. No goals. Yeah, no goals for either. Oh, Sam, you cracked me up too. But yeah, I'll give everyone one last chance. If not, though, that is where we're gonna wrap up. So again, be sure if you've made it this far, if you're listening on podcasting platforms, be sure to follow the show, give us a rating. If you're watching the video back, leave a like and subscribe to the Game Over Toronto channel. Subscribe to the Game Over Network. You can find me on Twitter at Zach Payne 41, on YouTube at Zach Payne 41. And yeah, you don't need to find me on Instagram. That's fine. So as an Australian, I need this hockey talk. It's worth more than gold to me. Happy to provide, Luke. Happy to provide. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning into the stream. You can catch Dominic and Lauren on Friday for the stream against Detroit, and then you can catch me and Andrew Berkshire on Saturday for the crossover with Montreal. Excuse me one last time. So have a good night, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the all the online talk about the election that's going on. We'll see how that shakes out. Hopefully I was able to distract you guys from all that. So yeah, cheers, everyone. We'll see you next time.